Hello, dear listeners. I'm back with you. I would like to talk a little bit today about certain memories and certain realizations that I experience in my process, and as a result, it might, sharing with you, it might maybe help you process your own processes that you are going through or you've been going through before. So it's interesting. I remember, first of all, it's just 2 months past. It's been like forever. It feels like it's been 6 months at least, because so many things happened since Efraim is gone and no longer among us. So, and mostly when I share with those things, it's mostly my own process that I go through. And I find, based on what you share with me, it's very useful for many people, even though, thank goodness, you didn't go through a stressful year and you didn't lose loved ones, thank God. But some bits and pieces, a lot of you find it very interesting. So I think at the moment, whatever I live with, whatever I share, I find it like the most current energy that I give over is something that a lot of people find it useful. So before we got engaged, those of you that followed him and were in touch with him back then, he shared often the story. I think even it was printed in a book and in a magazine on our website, the Miracle Marriage, I think it was called, where there was a story, but there is some insights that I open right now, some insights in that story. Basically, we were, as I was sharing before, we were going back and forth. We were not sure if we were for each other. That was back 2018. He was dating other people. In fact, he was coming here to date other people, and I was helping him process and like maybe connect better with those that he thought might be a shidduch for him or a suitable wife for him. And with some I interacted directly, and with some I spoke directly. It was just an interesting journey. There was no like this, fell in love and we kind of like could not apart from each other. There were some moments of that. We could not let go of like talking on the phone for a long period of time, and he kept on stopping me and said like, we're on the phone for so long and it seems like it's just been a couple of minutes. We can't have enough of each other. We had moments of that, but at the same time, there was other elements to this process. I was moving with my family to Florida from Canada, and I was like taking my time, enjoying my single life, and I was in my elements. I was teaching a lot back then. I had a lot of clients, blah blah blah, right? So we could not kind of commit to anything. Like it was always pull me, push me kind of situation. And one day, I think he left Florida to meet his family. And I have this dream. And it's not like a dream. Like a part of the dream, I was actually sitting up, but I was still dozing off, you know. And this dream is somewhat related in the articles that he shared with many people back in 2018, in December and 19, when we first got married. He would share a lot with all of you, if you remember that article. So I see this dream that I'm walking in this like unbelievably beautiful forest, like so real, so like full of like fresh air, and it's like early morning and it's beautiful, and the sounds of the birds and the trees and different animals, and the air is so fresh, and I'm just walking, and somewhere I see somebody is like calling me in, yeah. And later I understood that was his Rav, like Rav Berlin that he was following. And it was only motioning, getting deeper and deeper into the forest. I walked, and then there were some other people that were leading me, And from a distance, they're showing me a house. And it looks like a forest house. It looked like a forest house. I might miss some details. And I actually looked up yesterday in the article. It had much less details than what I remembered. And I was, so to speak, allowed to come close to this house just to understand what's going on. And in this house, you could only see children, like two children, very similar age, even maybe twins. Very like vibrant, very alive. And there is a voice of this rabbi, but I don't see any person next to me. So they're like telling me, but I don't see anyone next to me. They're telling me that those are children of Efraim and they need to come down. But it had nothing to do with like, and therefore you have to get married, and therefore like you're his wife. No, it was just like a story. And I see those children that they're well dressed and well fed, and they're more like country kids. They look like more like they're in nature a lot, and they're happy. And they're explaining to me something mystical that up until now, they said, your grandmother brought food to them, but right now it will be your duty. And they're, so to speak, telling me how to feed those kids. You never go inside the house. You just leave the food outside and they come out and get it. So that was like an element. And at one point when Efraim would ask, and it wasn't because I was asking at the same time, he was asking Rab Berlin, like maybe sometimes before this dream came about. He was asking about me, and apparently Rab Berlin was smiling, and then he said, you should ask her about her grandmother. She should tell you more about her grandmother. Somehow my grandmother played a role in here, some sort of like karmic role. And he was like fascinated. And when I was telling him about my grandmother, one particular grandmother that I was growing up with, because the other one passed away when I was like 5.5, 6, I barely remember her. And he was like in shock. He's like, this is exactly what I was looking for in a woman, certain elements of like earthiness and like being grounded, being very, in a way, sophisticated but simple, you know, like deep but simple, meditative, patient, natural beauty. Like she knew how to cook well, she understood herbs, she was known for her like ability to heal with her voice. She was a kindergarten teacher, and she was like extremely calm and soothing in a way, yeah. So I was telling him, oh, and also like this element that she lost her husband. Interestingly, her husband passed away exactly 40 days later was Ephraim's birthday. That's also like something karmic. And she never got married after him, even though he passed away extremely early. I think she was like 32 when she lost him, and she was even like embarrassed. Not only she refused or like would never want to get married, but when I remember when people would like want to set her up, she would just turn red naturally, and she would just like felt extremely awkward. Like she didn't know what to say. Like it was not even a thing for her to discuss. So anyway, so I was telling him all those little things, and he was like fascinated. So back to the dream. In the dream, they told me now it's my duty to feed them, and now they would appreciate your food, your nurturing kind of insights. And I see them running around, banging, like joking and laughing, and like really vibrant kids. I couldn't tell girls or boys because they had like long shirts and like very longish haircuts. And then I looked at this house. I kind of took in whatever I understood from that house, and then I was motioned to go somewhere else. And as I'm led to go somewhere else, I see Efraim standing in the middle of the forest. And they basically are telling me, here he's gonna train you. And again, like, it's not your future husband, you're not his wife. Here's Efraim, he looks at me, he smiles. Again, like, very not grounded kind of a connection. And he teaches me this Tai Chi moves, which I was already very much into back then. And he does it, of course, the whole point of Tai Chi is to make it even more smooth, more kind of like more flexible, more gentle, more slow in a way, more kind of flowy, right? So he's teaching me this Tai Chi moves, and occasionally he looks at me to just make sure I do it right. And there was some jokes he would say there, like he was joking. I remember like something about our moves and what it reminds and what it opens up and what it's for, like some insights, but some in a jokey way. And then he told me, it's enough for today. And I left the forest and he stayed there. And then when we told, basically what happened was, I didn't want to let Efraim know that I had this dream, because it would have sounded like I'm dying to get married to him. It was extremely obvious that I was showing his kids, I have to feed them. This is the house, this is Efraim, there's certain moves which like implies, in those moves there's like a lot of intimacy, even though we were not touching, a lot of connection, a lot of interaction on a deeper level, a lot of tuning in, a lot of teaching on that level. And then I would walk again, I was walking again, enjoying the forest, and then I was shown how to leave that forest. So back then I did not tell him. He was traveling with his family. I told his friend, and his friend right away reached out to Rab Berlin. And what happened was, with Rab Berlin, he said, there's somebody that Efraim was dating, or dating till now, and it's on and off, on and off. She had a dream. And he started saying there was a forest, and apparently he got interrupted, and Rab Berlin tells him, and she saw a house, and she saw his kids, those kids she needs to give birth to, and this is their house together, and she should get married, something like that, and this should be a good marriage, something like that. So basically he said the details of the dream before even he was told, which was surprising to all, and like people were like, wow, what a Rav, and everything like that. And then obviously this friend called Efraim, and Efraim like worked out his doubts, what he wasn't sure, because I wasn't sure, I wasn't showing like this outbeat enthusiasm to get married, or to like overly excited to like commit to move to Israel and the rest of it. Like there was none of that in me, and he felt like I'm not interested. So he had his doubts. He worked out, but when he heard this dream and the reaction of the Rav, right away he called me and he's like, so tell me this dream. And he started like sensing, feeling, and it's like, yeah, I feel a lot of energy in there. It's not, I said to him, maybe I was hallucinating. Maybe it's not real. Maybe it's not a real dream. Maybe it's something like, is made up, like, you know, our mind plays games with us. So I told him straight out that maybe not true, but he's like, no, if the Rav said the conclusion and the details and the insights of the dream, you might doubt yourself, but this is what it is. And like we started looking into each other's kind of story more deeply, and we started meeting and doing Tai Chi in the evening together. I would drive to like about 40 minutes to meet him, because I was living in a different area from him in Florida. And that led to the engagement and falling in love and making this story into a marriage, etc., etc. But now that I was thinking about this whole thing, and also after we got married, he understood I have, like he always said, you have this prophetic kind of insight, and you doubt yourself so much. We need to like make you strong, that your meditations could help people. You should not sit and talk to people like that directly. You should right away tune in and like so to speak, channel what's going on. And he would do that regularly. He would set times, and he would, so to speak, like train me into those meditations. I remember the first year was all about that. He wanted to receive some messages, and I did. I had open messages like he should drink milk with chamomile, herb, and like for his health, and like there was other stuff. I remember I was clearly hearing a certain breathing exercise that we both should do that opens up a lot of channels and intuition and ability to like heal others and blah blah blah. And it wasn't made up. Like I remember I used to tune in, and like how I knew it would start, like random stories from random period of my life will pop in. Like I'm in the middle of the store that when I was living in New York, just shopping, or I'm dropping off my kid when I was living in Toronto in a certain school in a certain hallway, and like some random flashes would come back, and I would just look at it, and then a certain flow of intuitive kind of message would like be clear to me. It wasn't that I was hearing it, and it wasn't, I was just knowing it. I was knowing certain things, and they would just come through me. And he was really fascinated. And I remember it faded off, like we got busy with life, settling, we moved to Israel, one house, another house, and Israel was like everything time consuming. We had to travel by foot or by bus, or like all this awkward stuff, kind of, we couldn't set time for those meditation, and I couldn't concentrate in Israel at all. I find places that we were in, there was a lot of background noise, and like certain setup, my intuition comes in when I'm at a long walk by myself, or like I really had to eat very clean, and it was extremely hard to find organic food and good quality food in Israel. And I needed to be alone, like ocean would open me up, and the sea in Israel would just like be another public place, you know, like you couldn't be much alone. And I remember I couldn't focus. Like there was always something building outside, some noise, drilling, this, that, neighbors yelling, like Israel is another world altogether. So I couldn't kind of gather it, and it faded off. But then occasionally, if I would tell him like I miss ocean, and I want to go back to Florida, and I need the space, and I need quietness, I need at least one room in the house to be like absolutely quiet, like completely quiet. And he would teach me again and again these meditations that he would teach me. He'd say, I want you to learn to tune in to anything and everything you possibly want to experience. It's right here. And like he would train me that if you close your eyes and you connect, you're right outside the ocean. You could sense that feeling, you could receive that energy that calms you down, or heals you, or collects you, or helps you to kind of unpack certain things. You could feel that. And he would really, really want me to get that skill sharpened in me, you know, like he wanted me to have this ability to tune into anything and pick up that energy. And he would check, like he would say, let me check if you got it. So I would tune in, and he would say like, what did I just want or felt or thought about like 10 minutes ago? And we would like go our own way, and he would think about something, and then I would come back and I would tune in. And before that, I already had that skill, like, but I was doubting a lot. Like I wasn't, with him especially, I was doubting. Or when I would tell like something to a Rav, I would doubt. But with clients, I'm more sure. Like there is a therapeutic part of me that pops out that is more sure, more of a like a leader. And he didn't want me to doubt. He kept on like, he was extremely surprised how precise I knew the details of specific people or the period of his life. Like he would tell me something, and I would finish the end of it, you know, like, and that because of that happened. And it was like, wow, it's true. Like that's the connection. So there was a lot of meditative training happening. And now that I'm looking back at this whole story and the whole dream or this vision that I had, and the whole element of training me to meditate, I think subconsciously he knew that we don't have a long time together here on earth. But there's definitely some work could be done more on this connection level, you know, like he's from there, I'm from here, and there has to be certain sort of like clearing the channels, building up those channels so they're kicking, they're vibrant, they're alive, they're believed in, they're active, you know. And his whole being, like he would only commit to marry someone when there was such a prophetic dream. Like it looks like he had over 15 years of search, and there was a search, and I'm sure there were unbelievable candidates. There were like good girls there. It's not like he dated somebody who is completely mentally not there, or like there were cases, obviously somebody unstable. But I think subconsciously he knew he doesn't have much time in marriage, but the connection after marriage and after he's gone, after marriage is gone and after he is gone, it's still extremely important. And it has to be done properly, not in a clingy way, not in a dependency way, not in a like poor me way, not in like feeling sorry for yourself way, in a extended grief way. But just like on this meditative level, he felt it was extremely important, and he tried to train me. And I think this whole dream exactly showed us back then, this is what your life is going to look like. You're going to have a very short kind of connection here on earth. The whole point is to be in this like healing environment, very earthy, a kind of healing setup, which is a forest, yeah, natural setup. And that was our kind of setup. No matter where we went, we would go anywhere, and we would like make sure we have good food, and make sure it was a good environment, make sure there was a park next to us, or ocean, or some nature where he would go and like declutter, so to speak, and I would go for long walks. And they showed us our house, which consists of children, right? I also, in one of my therapy, there was like a deep therapy done, and there was one element that said that some of my children, as most children, always have a twin, even though that twin does not come to reality. We subconsciously have like second personality, like this doubtful, confusing sense of what is it good for me, like a double, so to speak, version of me. And the specific kid that I had, actually when she was born, I was shown another child's place, which is the size of like 6 weeks fetus. And midwife said that it just stopped developing, and I wasn't bleeding during pregnancy, nothing. But she, when she was born, she always spoke about the twin sister. So very much could be that Benjamin, our son together with Efraim, also had some, like on a higher realm somewhere, a twin sibling. But he came down here. I think there is a statistic that says 75% of every person that is born has a twin that does not come to reality. Anyways, it's some insightful topic. Maybe we'll address it some other time. So I think we were shown that there will be a training, and this training is very serious, where he is going to teach you, based on what you already know or already developed, certain tuning in, certain opening up of your body, certain relaxation, certain ability to receive certain information. And then when you leave that, so to speak, realm, right, of existence, he stayed there and I left. There has to be this connection built, right? Like that training is crucially important. And our life together was all about that. It was about natural living, settings of living, pure food, supplements, healers, therapists, doctors that are like tune in and more intuitive, etc. Family and feeding of the family, yeah. And then there was another part, training. And that was pretty much all to our life together. But that training part, I believe right now, this ability to tune in at any moment and connect at any moment, yeah, I felt like he needed to settle down, and he still settles down. That's what I feel. He still is not 100% convinced that he is gone forever. He's still adjusting to a new world, so to speak. But there's definitely a much lighter, in a way, energies, much more like constant love energy, constant present energy, constant giving energy. Yeah, it's different frequencies. I definitely feel where he's surrounded, there's a lot of calm, a lot of peace, a lot of comfort, a lot of understanding, support, etc. But in the beginning there were a lot of frictions, and I channeled those frictions, and I was confused. Like, I knew how to accept his death, but yet I was fighting with it, and I felt, tuning in deeper, it was him fighting. He didn't want to leave. He was not agreeing, which was true. He was not agreeing to him dying till the last moment. And even when like a doctor straight to his face already said that like maybe a couple of hours, and that's when I started calling people and writing to his rabbis that maybe you want to speak. And he was just like not taking it, like 2 hours, like what are they talking about? So that was that. And I felt this meditation that he was always training me in, and to receive the prophetic thing. I think we still have job to do, like even if there will be a certain like acceptance on his end and on my end, and certain moving on, and certain part of his soul might move towards reincarnating, and certain part of my soul might look towards settling further in life, and maybe moving on from constantly remembering and wanting to go back in my mind, etc., etc. But at the same time, there is still some subtle work happening, and I think our marriage included that. And I think that was part of why we ended up together. We were extremely different on a lot of levels, as I was talking in previous recordings. But at the same time, that difference was important to bring together for him and for me. And that difference of energies created something. And now that he is generating mostly more subtle, more... what's the word, tuned in energy as a soul. There is no persona, there's no personality, there's no character traits, there's no conflicts with this world, there is no disappointment, there's no confusion. So I think that now the work is changing, but it's still some work. Like, I still feel there's something going through me, just like I felt before. Like when you're in a marriage, there's a certain joint energies are going through you, and you feel like something is changing you and you changing someone else, and out of it comes something joined, built together, and it's like a work, you know. And I feel the same work is happening right now. Like there was a break of that grief, and I spoke at the different occasions with you that I let that grief be there. as much as it needed, and I still allow that to come back whenever it's needed to show up and to like finish up, so to speak, certain work. But at the same time, that natural feeling of only wanting to be grateful for what we have, and only wanting to understand that we're never apart. It's like, on some level, it's very clear to me, there is never separation. On some level, we do not have separation. On some level, we feel like, it's like as if you have a friend somewhere, I don't know, in another state, and you're not as close, but you're very, very connected. And if you don't call her for a year or 2 years even, or 3 years, you still know she's there. And whenever you connect, you're like, pick it up again. The same energy, the same happiness, the same connection, the same friendship, the same laughter, etc. So it's the same way. Like, you know, he is in a different place. Yes, it's different vibrations, it's different perception, so to speak. You live a little bit in a more confusing and maybe conflicted area, but he's not. But this connection still exists, and it does something. That connection still does something. And also, like this meditation, what he was teaching me about, like tuning in and connecting to anything you want to connect, and you feel you need to connect in order to bring some clarity somewhere, or you want to connect for a client, or you want to connect in a healing kind of session, you want to open up something for a person. Like, as much as it was there for me, like a person would talk, and based on their voice is actually an amazing tool for me. I pick up a lot of vibrations through voice, and a lot of knowledge comes through hearing a person's voice, because a voice connects a person or reflects a person's subconscious and physicality. And I know when a person blocks their real voice because there's certain fears and traumas, they don't want to really open themselves up, even to themselves, that much. So through voice you could pick up and receive what's next for that person. What are they troubled with? What is it that truly they need to hear right now? And that tuning in, if you think about it, is exactly out of this world and in this world. Even for this one person that is alive, when I'm trying to heal, and when I'm trying to direct and to mentor and to help, I'm connecting those two worlds. That person has all the information that they are showing me through their gestures, through their body language, through their voice, through the words they're selecting, through the intonation, through the story that they're telling me, which is not physical. Voice is not physical, right? But yet I'm talking to a physical person, and I'm bringing the information from her own subconscious or his own subconscious, which is not physical, into the physical. So there we have that connection which exists, and it works together. So similarly, those that are not with us anymore, as much as, yes, our body and our persona wants to and needs to go through grief and has to go through grief period, but at the same time, there is always that connection of you always have that in you for yourself. You have intuitive feeling to go or not to go, to answer the phone, not to answer the phone, to say or not to say, and then there is actual doing. So we always connect those two worlds. We consist of those two worlds. We are the soul and the body. So for people that are like scared, leave the dead to the dead and alive to alive, it's a different realms, a different existence. There is a reason why we don't know what's going on. And for the deceased one, there is also a lot of kind of limitations. They're not like allowed to be here exposing and knowing everything about whoever is on earth. Like there's limits, blah 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 blah. It's true, there's some like unhealthy way of connection. As I said, the most unhealthy way of connection is when people are like not agreeing to them passing, not approving, not letting go, not still fighting, still processing a lot of like unfairness, fairness, blame, regret, guilt, a lot of that. And or there is like this element or like opposite, like they hated each other, God forbid, and they wished they went and they're like, thank goodness they're gone. Like that also is not unhealthy letting go. The true letting go is accepting that right now the communication is going to be from different realms. It's like from one state to another, from one country to another. Right now it's not going to be we're in the same climate, we're next door, we're in the same room. Right now the game is changing, but the connection and interaction is still continuing. Just like your soul, even though it's rooted in higher realms, but it's very much affects the body, right? So here you are connecting, so to speak, out of this realm within this realm, and you always have to bring that balance and connection. Like, what is it that my soul wants? What is it that my body wants? And there is often a conflict, and there is often disagreement. The soul might want at most lessons to go through, and the body's like, I'm exhausted and tired. And those conflicts are constant. We're constantly facing that. Like marriage, a body explains in those utmost beautiful colors, and like, oh, I just want to fall in love and hug and kiss and compliment each other and just support each other and be there for each other and laugh together. But really marriage develops a person, and true love comes not with uninterrupted like joy and laughter. There is some conflict and there is some contradictions, and there are some kind of closed energies in the marriage where you, so to speak, need to break through and come to a more deepening and more realization and more love and deeper connection and deeper loyalty, etc., etc. So, hi my dear, welcome. So this conflict, soul wants one thing: development, maturity, stability, being able to go through certain lessons, getting enough resources for that lesson. And body just wants comfort and pleasure, which is true, because body has a consciousness of a 5-year-old, and all it wants just sweets and sleeps and relaxation and just laughter and games and jokes. And like, that's why I say a lot, when we stretch our personality and we develop and we sharpen our personality, not necessarily it applies to a body. Body cannot handle a lot of stretches, cannot handle a lot of pressure, needs to be in a way looked after in a very gentle way, explained everything along the way, prepared, this is where we're going now, and this is going to be intense yoga, and this is going to be a hot yoga, and this is going to be an intense Tai Chi class and like martial art, or I'm planning to walk for 2.5 hours, or like you really need to tune into your body and explain. And this is exactly what's going on from a higher part of you, more resourceful part of you, different frequency part of you. You come to that kind of limited part of you, and you give resources, you give your understanding, compassion, your views, and your deep insight. So similarly happens with those souls that have families here, have loved ones here. There is no this clinginess, like, oh, I'll never get married, or like, how could another, like with my grandmother, right? There was the story that I was telling him, and he, like, as much as he appreciated it, he still felt it was off. Like, why would a 32-year-old woman not get married after so many years? But at the same time, this connection doesn't have to be on that like human level. You're not really married, but your souls are connected. Before you were connected, souls and body, let's hope, because sometimes bodies block each other, and that's where mostly conflict comes in. On the body level, we sometimes connected, sometimes not, because body is very rough and very kind of dull and like not necessarily insightful. On the soul level, we always connected. That's partially why we choose each other. And then again, once the one of the person goes, the soul level continuously doing its work, and you have to be open for it, not be scared. Just say, like, there's some work happening, especially if we have a little kid together. And I remember, like, when I was tuning in, when he would not let go, even after he was gone, like energetically, there was some still conflict happening, and I was feeling that conflict, right? So I like opened up and I said, Efraim, we're always going to be together. There's no such thing that we will forever apart, especially that we have a kid together, and there will be a time that we will meet again in some realms, you know. Our souls been connected before even we got married, before we even found out about each other in this reincarnation. And I felt like there was this letting go happening, you know, like this agreeing, yeah. And I said to him, very soon when you will let go and you will go to different frequency kind of realm, you'll see there is no death there. There is absolutely no death. And I felt like so much lighter, like that energy that was like fighting in me was not me, but at the same time, it was us, right? It was him and me, through me in this planet, some like fight happening. And what I was saying also was not me from my body. It was tuning into that higher me that apparently knows that there is no death on some level. Death is just like a game of the mind. Here we have to experience death. Here we have to grieve for the death. Here we have to like turn around and see there's no one here. Like there's no person here that I'm used to. Like this is a specific setup that certain lessons are lived through. But on a more conscious level of us, there is no death at all. And that's the whole point of grounding God into this world. Like the whole point of Hasidut is to bring God into this world. What does that mean? That consciousness, we have to channel into this world. We have to speak like that. Yes, our body needs to recover. It might take as long as a year. And if it takes longer, that means some part you didn't let kind of leave through you properly. But eventually you understand that the connection is there, the work, joint work is still there. If there's something to do together, still there. You are still raising your kid together, and it's just different type of communication, different type of interaction, different type of effect, but it's still there. And you are so grateful for both versions, for the version that you saw him here and you were interacting, and for the version that you honestly grateful. It's not like you're forcing yourself to be grateful. Oh, it's very nice. It sounds very nice to be grateful. No, you're just like, wow, I'm experiencing two different connection, parenting our child together with Efraim through this and through that. And it expands you. You like, when people say you have to find beauty in everything, when people say there's a blessing in everything, there's God's love in everything, this is what it is. Eventually you get there where you just like, I'm so grateful I was married to this man, and I'm grateful that what I'm going through right now, it opens up something new about this man. I would never be able to discover certain things that I feel right now coming through me, coming into my motherhood with Binyamin, knowing that Efraim is behind it, Ephraim's soul is behind it, and it's just completely different experience. And yeah, there's something to be grateful for, even though a person 2 months passed away and in so much pain and so much discomfort, etc., etc. So looking back at all the story and the miracle of our marriage and the therapy of meditation and Tai Chi, I think that was a preparation for a different type of connection that we have right now, and certain techniques that I might share during webinars and maybe more like in a private settings. I'm going to share with people how to express and those connections, how to hold those connections in the right way, in a more kind of healthy way, in a way, yeah, without, I don't have vivid dreams. I have actually dreams of Efraim where we're just busy with life, like absolutely nothing extraordinary, like when he was not in bed and not bedridden, not in a lot of pain, but it was just like this, planning that, doing that, buying that, joking. And then when I wake up, that's the world when he, so to speak, does not exist, right? But in a dream, like a lot of people, like, do you long in a dream for him? Do you ask him to come? None of that. Like, I have no dreams like that at all, where I tell him I miss him and all this stuff. I had it for the first month and a half, like this missing feeling. But then, since he was more in a settled place, not in between worlds, so to speak, the missing feeling disappeared. And I'm telling you, most of the time what we feel here is because there is some confusion there, or some work in progress there. And it's also true between people that are separating or getting apart. When you feel like not in peace, it does not mean it's yours. It could be it's that partner not in peace with what he did, or maybe he regrets that he didn't do earlier. Maybe he blames himself to be in abusive setup for himself. Maybe he's like, I had to let go longer. Like, there's something going on that you are feeling, because, as I said, when two people come together and they create a third, so to speak, system that holds those two energies together. And that gestalt, that system that they are created, has to be either closed on some level, if it's disturbing, if it's weighing you down, if it's holding you back, if it makes you confused and depressed and like saddens you, etc. Or like you could also feel like I'm feeling now. It's a shift. It's a shift of vibrations. It doesn't take away from my moving on in life. I don't feel I'm affecting or holding him, but there is some work together has to be done, and I allow that work to happen in that unit, right? So for that, you might need help. I used a lot of therapy for this, like clarity and understanding and tuning in myself, learning to tune in. But definitely, if it's not helping you, it's automatically destroying you. So you have to know, from this unit right now, from this interaction right now, am I more resourceful, more happier, more generating like moving on ideas? I kind of express myself as efficient person. Then, and it does not debilitate you, that means it's still serving you. And you have to like agree with the fact that it's some work is being done, and I'm letting that work to be done. As I also say a lot in the private sessions, especially to mothers that got divorced or couples that got divorced, I always tell them there is certain blocks of you coming together. As a man and a woman, you decided to apart, but as a father and a mother, you always remain together energetically for your kids, and just always see yourself. It doesn't matter if you got married to someone else, or fell in love with someone else, or like really dislike each other on a man to woman level. But as a father and a mother, always hold that space that you are connected. So there is an element of remaining together when it does not destroy you or does not allow you to move on for the sake of kids. So it's very similar concept here. And also for yourself, when you have problem with building a relationship, it's often because you have that model of your parents aparting, where they didn't have to apart as parents. They had to apart as a wife and a husband, but not as parents. And you could like meditate and see your parents looking at each other with loving eyes as a mother and a father for this particular child, raising him or her and giving all the nurturing elements, raising elements, connection to woman's energy, man's energy, as a girl with a father, as a boy with a mother, and etc., etc. It's extremely important to visualize yourself that your parents are always looking at each other with loving eyes, looking at each other, wanting to be there for each other as parents for you, and you are like marinating in that energy, you're growing in that energy, maturing in that energy. So it's very similar. Those of you that listened from the beginning, this is exactly the idea that I'm like processing right now, understanding deeply right now for myself, that some relationship could look that they died off, but they're not. There's some element of continuation there. And some relationship, they could look that they are together, but they are not vibrant. They are dead. And like we should be tuned into the energy of all that. Hope that was beneficial. Please write your commentaries. Please share this video. It's also going to be in YouTube. Maybe in a couple of days. I would like to hear your opinion, your insights, your understanding, your realizations through this talk. And we'll talk soon. Love you all.